Everybody, this is going to be part 3 of 3 great games. When I started doing these, I knew at some point I would eventually have to cover role-playing games or RPGs. They take up about 40%, 50% of my collection, and after a while it was just going to be inevitable that I'd have to talk about them. And the only reason why I kind of put off talking about them is because I know a lot of people that watch my channel do not play a lot of video games, and I am trying to mix, Halloween and music and video games all together. So RPGs are a little bit harder for people to get into or sort of grasp it sometimes. For people that don't know, RPGs are games that can last upwards of 100 plus hours. They have a very deep storyline. You normally start off as, your character or characters are very low, weak characters that you build up levels, and you gather magic and strength and pretty much just growing with them along with the game. And they meet new characters along the way in different towns and cities you visit. And a lot of the RPGs normally encompass an entire world or multiple worlds. So much more in depth than say something like Call of Duty or something like that. So if it scares away a lot of people. So either way, that's a brief description of what those type of games roughly are. But I'm going to try to cover 3 more just different ones than some of the bigger name titles. That seems to be like the theme. Like I want to stick with these is just ones that maybe the mainstream or a lot of people haven't heard about or played. So anyways, I'm going to start off with a couple games on the PlayStation 1, and to do a brief little overview. PS1 was the system that really got me into RPGs, as in like collecting them. There were a ton that came out in the system, a ton of really great games, and they took a step up when it came to graphics, the movie sequences in the games. That's another big thing about RPGs is that there's normally some really great cutscenes, and it helps flesh out the story. But the first one I want to mention is a game called Persona. The Persona series is still going on today, but the first one that came out was on the PS1. The first game and all of them sort of have a basic theme of demons and darkness has invaded your world and your town, and you're have to go out and try to save everybody and solve the problems. And the battle system has sort of a unique theme in the sense that it's like a more adult Pokemon almost, because you're trying to get the monsters and the creatures to join your battle, join your party, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. You have to, fight them if they don't, obviously. But it adds a cool twist and sort of a collector's aspect to it. But the conversation and stuff you can have with the monsters, trying to convince them, it can be really cool and sometimes funny. But give any of the games, the Persona series, a shot. They are put out by one of my favorite companies called Atlas, a great game publisher and designer. But they're normally pretty pricey. If you can find some of the newer ones like Persona 3 or 4, they're even like $40, for like a used copy. This game in particular can go for anywhere between $70 and $90, just depending on what the current price is on eBay. But they're really fantastic games, and they tend to go up in value and then become collector's items. But anyways, I know a lot of people aren't going to be able to go out and probably afford it. But if you ever happen to find a copy at a garage sale for $5 or $10, pick it up alone just for the fact of they're worth money. So the second game is Legend of Dragoon. And Legend of Dragoon probably is one of the most wanted sequels for an RPG that's around. I mean, the game's been out for over 10 years, and they haven't released a official sequel to it ever. So people really got attached to this game. It has great graphics. It's very long. The main idea of the story is, I'm going to steal some words from the back here just because it's worded nicely. There was a legend born 10,000 years ago. A civilization of flying creatures enslaved the human race in a bloody war. In a bid for freedom, the humans harness the spiritual forces of dragons and triumph. Unveil a fantasy of deception, magical combat, retribution, yada yada yada. Basically, you can transform into dragons and unleash pretty cool moves and stuff in the battle. They are sort of done on a time attack system. Like you actually have to correctly hit a button in order for like a more powerful attack. It can become a little frustrating, but it made things a little bit different. It gave a unique, like you're not just sitting there clicking a button, to cast a spell or something. So it made the battle system a little bit more, fast paced and more interesting. But the movie sequences again in this game in particular were just fantastic. I mean, this game took over 3 years to make, and it had a huge team of people doing all the designing and the rendering of the game. I would say this game's not terribly expensive. I mean, if you can find it, it's probably between $40-50 at the very most. I might be able to find a cheaper copy online. But cool thing about PS1 games is that a lot of them are becoming re-released on the PlayStation Network. The old PS1, I think I already said, old PS1 games are becoming re-released issues, and you can download them for super cheap. And also, all models of PS3 can play PS1 games. Not all models of PS3s can play PS2, but that has to do with them cutting costs of certain. It's called the Emotion Engine that was inside the PS2. They put in a couple models of PS3, and then they tried to emulate it in one model, and then they just decided to cut it out completely to save costs. And since they're trying to sell PS3 games, they're not going to make a system that focuses on, you can go out and still play PS2 games. They want you to buy their new stuff too. So it makes sense for a marketing standpoint, but good thing is PS1 games can play on all systems. So if you even are remotely interested in some of the great titles that came out on PS1, like I said, either you can download them off the PlayStation Network, or pick up maybe a used copy. A lot of PS1 games are expensive role-playing games because there's a lot of discs to some of them, so it can also be trying to find a complete copy of some of them have up to 4 discs in them, so it can be a little bit hard. But like I said, if you can get just the discs, that also cuts the cost down on a lot of those. A little bit of collector advice. I have to have the complete edition of everything with the little instruction manual, the artwork for the front of the case and the back of the case, blah blah blah. But obviously you don't have to have all that stuff to enjoy playing the game, and you can get the games a lot cheaper if you don't buy all that stuff. Either way, for my last game, I'm going to stick with Sony and just do sort of a quick pull-out on it. It is Demon Souls, which came out, it hasn't even been 2 years yet, but it is one of the toughest games in the sense of just, to make it through the game. The battle system with the monster stuff is so unforgiving. I mean, if you get hit with a big hammer, you're gonna, like in real life, you're gonna die. There's not a leeway of, you can get hit, 50 times and be okay. The sense of just awe-inspiring monsters and stuff you fight are pretty amazing. I mean, some things are towering above you, and it's real-time combat, so it's an action RPG. You don't go into a separate menu to do anything. You see a monster, you're fighting it right there, to dodge and duck and roll around him. It has online play, which is a plus. You can actually play with a friend. You can go into other characters' worlds. You can leave little messages and stuff to help out people of, this monster up ahead's real tough. He uses this, particular attack. Prepare for that. So that was a really cool and innovative feature in Demon Souls. It won a lot of Game of the Year awards and RPG of the Year. It only came out on PS3, but the sequel called Dark Souls is going to be coming out on PS3 and 360. If you're looking for more of a intense challenge, but you're going to get rewarded for it kind of game, Demon Souls is definitely one to check out. Really can't say more praise about that. One of my favorite games of the last few years. Either way, this video is getting a little bit long, and I am dead tired, so I'm going to talk to you guys later.